Pick up. Welcome to the 9th class of emerging technologies for lifelong learning. Today we'll be talking about a subject that I think a few of you have expressed interest in doing like a student project on. That's cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin and blockchain. And anyway, so this is our first class after the midterm exam. So I'll be giving you feedback perhaps on the midterm maybe next week to spend some time on it. Okay, right. So what are we going to do today? Let's go to here. Okay. Now, as you recall, this class is going to give you a schema for looking at things, right? Some library for handling, maybe a bit of prototyping, a little bit of experimentation with calculation and so forth, and also reading library as well as URL library. So actually, this is in here. There. Okay. So those are so these are the three resources: schema, the framework for analyzing new technologies, and the library is sort of like a background reading, background video tutorials and whatnot. And we cover a couple of new topic areas. So what I did was for every framework that I gave you, I also highlight sort of like case study. Okay, for example, the slide that said things you need to know. Well, the case study, which is who am I? I'm a human being with a vector attribute and belong to a population and so forth. So that was the lecture you saw. Behind the scene of emerging tech, right? When you want to study a new area, the example was reinventing plastic, right? That was the case study. Sort of like the emergence of emerging tech. When does technology actually emerge? Just get from just a little bit beyond horizon to just becoming something that's relevant to your immediate career or immediate professional involvement. And that's sort of like the theme of emerging tech starter kit, right? It's not just enough to have the technology and the innovation. You have to have confluence of factor. And I think that will be more apparent when we bring up the case study of genetic engineering. We haven't gone over that yet. So that's we invited a lecture from Bangmot from KNUTT. Okay, so that's going to be a very good lecture, right? And talk about behind the application of our emerging tech. You have to see it of how it support or if it doesn't support the framework of sustainable development. In particular, the framework we use is sufficiency economy philosophy, and the case study was looking at the 1997 Asian financial crisis, for example, right? And for schema, maybe we talk about thinking of law of unintended consequence, right? A bad consequence of really good innovation, good technology, and we talk about the case study being the misapplication of the Gaussian-Coppola model, and in particular, and the 2007-2008 global financial crisis in general, right? And last week, not last week, the week before the midterm, we used quantum computing to discuss, in particular, the 5 big words and the 2 big words, 2 smaller words that we have to study, right? The 5 big words, sorry, big 4, not 5. Why did I say 5 here? Oops, sorry, my bad. Did I say 5? 4 big words: mathematics, science, engineering, and technology, right? And the smaller words, which is sort of like the personal journey that we want you to take part in and be part of your 4-year education here. That's the invention and innovation. Those are the two words. So when we look at things like quantum computing, which part of quantum computing is mathematics, which part of it is the science, which part of it is the engineering, which part of it is technology, and where does invention come in? Where does innovation come in? Okay, so big 4 and the small 2, basically. So that's okay. Now, so today, the subject is Bitcoin and blockchain. Okay, but this is a good way to enlarge that a little bit, to not really remind you, but this is sort of like an instruction that, you know, whenever you have a new technology, okay, when you have a new technology, let's say that it has already emerged, right? So we'll talk about here, you know, emerging technology starter kit. So we're not questioning the emergence. It's already emerged. It's already here. It's almost already overwhelming the society. But what should we ask? What question do we ask? Okay. So behind the hype of an emerging technology, you have to ask crucial question, critical question. Yeah, you have to be very critical. So you have to be, so maybe crucially asked question or critically asked question. Maybe that sounds better. Usually we have FAQ, right? Frequently asked question. This is CAQ. This is critically asked question. So when you see an area of emerging technology, it's getting all the hype in the media and so forth. What do you ask? What questions do you ask? Okay. And today we'll use that to sort of like guide our discussion of the Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Right. So the first question, I'll give you all the 4 questions, right? And then we'll go into the details. So again, this class, at the end of this class, you should be able to understand, you should understand the cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, smart contract, particularly Ethereum, and the underlying technology of blockchain and the underlying engineering and mathematics, cryptography. So that's sort of like what you should understand by the end of this lecture. But the question that is used to guide the narrative would be these 4 questions. Okay. Now, obviously, there are actually more question marks than this 4. So within the first question is the group of questions. What is it? You know, why do we have this? Why do we have this Bitcoin? Why do we have this this cryptocurrency? Oh, basically the origin story, right? Like every superhero saga, you have to have a good origin story. So you have to ask, what's the good origin story that comes with the story of Bitcoin, and in particular, how it works under the hood. Now, if this is an introduction to Bitcoin and blockchain, I would focus the bulk of this on how it works under the hood. Okay. Now, so this is to give you an understanding, right? So whenever a piece of emerging technology, doesn't matter, biotech, quantum computing, but we are going to use as a case study Bitcoin and blockchain, right? So what is it? You know, why? How did it come about? You know, what's the origin story, and how exactly does it work? This doesn't mean get you right down to the coding level. That's for you to become a specialist, but you need to understand how the technology works under the hood, even though you're not, you know, like you understand how the car engine works under the hood, but you're not the mechanics. You're not going to be, you know, dismantling a V8 engine anytime soon, but you have to understand how things work. Okay, right. Once, and this is kind of in progression, once you understand that set of questions, so that's, I call that question number 1. Question number 2 is, well, what can it deliver? What can it do for us? You know, what kind of business case can we make of it? Okay, so this is where I guess a lot of the quote unquote innovation entrepreneur would be focused on, right? So the temptation is to forget this block and go immediately to here. Okay, and in a lot of hype surrounding Bitcoin and blockchain, it's basically selling you the idea that you can skip all this. You don't really have to understand how it works, and immediately start thinking up of some kind of application or some kind of startup business that utilizes Bitcoin and blockchain technology. And that's not what we want to do. In fact, that's the antithesis of Basai education. You're not supposed to be an entrepreneur of something you know barely 6 inches of depth about. Okay, if you know nothing about it, you shouldn't be innovating in that space. So you should know exactly how it works, even though you're not the actual mechanics of maintaining, fixing it, or developing. Then so this is sort of like a more like a personal to you, or personal to the business case, personal to the organization, personal to your business career, personal to your project. Now we have to think again. This is part of the core education at Basai. You have to be a responsible global citizen. So it's not enough to know what the technology can do for you. You have to see, well, what does maintaining or supporting or investing heavily in this technology do to the world at large? In particular, what's the extent of the drain on the economic resources need to develop this technology, need to sustain this technology? What about impact on environment? What about ecological and carbon footprint? Okay, so this is looking beyond what's being directly delivered. So you can think of this as maybe a good news. This is sort of like what could it be a bad news? And there is something else which is even larger still. This is how society respond to this technology. Now, this is both good and bad, as with many stories of technology. The idea is not to be judgmental. So, well, this technology is going to bring down, it's going to lead to the downfall of society, or this is going to lead to utopia. That's what a lot of technology bloggers write, right? You got this new technology, it's going to bring the end of human civilization. So that's a doomsday kind of view. Well, this technology is going to change. It's going to make human transcend human. It's going to be humanity 2.0. We're going to be a superior intelligence to whatever our forebear. And that's sort of like a utopian view. That's not what this is about. Okay, it's not about predicting all doom and gloom or utopia. But it's about trying to anticipate and to an extent predict, even though you're not going to get it right, but sort of anticipate or try to anticipate how the society at large will evolve, co-evolve with it. The way they use is co-evolve. So as the technology evolves, the society will co-evolve with it. And this is a very good reason why the Bitcoin and blockchain is used as a case study today. Well, obviously, because I want to introduce the subject, but because the idea that society co-evolves with the technology is very important. So the Bitcoin, blockchain, smart contract, the technology is evolving. So are we in handling it, in how we think of it, how we use it, how the government thinks or tries to regulate, how we think it doesn't or it does require regulation, and so forth. How will the society co-evolve with it? Okay, so I want this to be sort of like the 4 questions that you ask whenever you see something. Okay, and the case study again today is a Bitcoin blockchain. So what is it? Well, I'm going to refer to a separate slide, right? Now, let's go to this slide, which is here. Okay, which is here. One of the reasons I can't separate this into 3 questions, what, why, and how, is because they kind of like mingle together. You can't really ask one without asking the other, especially in the case of Bitcoin. Okay, in some other technology, maybe you can separate the 3 questions, but in Bitcoin and blockchain, you almost have to answer the 3 questions simultaneously. Okay. How it works under the hood, by the way, is probably the most complicated, technically the most complicated part of Bitcoin and blockchain technology. And I will go into that. But it's actually important, just as important, to actually look at the backdrop of what's happening. Okay, what happened or how it came to be. Okay, the origin story of Bitcoin and blockchain. Okay, now, so let me just make a brief side note. Okay. Two separate lines. Okay. And what is it? You see it in here as well. Let me give you a. Let me just spread this out. Right. So even though this is about what it can deliver, it also tells you a little bit about what it is. Okay, because the story is a little bit convoluted. Okay? Here's how it goes. Okay, Bitcoin. They start life as a decentralized monetary system. Okay, nothing short of that, nothing less and nothing more. Okay, you have to take my word for it. Okay, so this is actually something that you go to, like all this Bitcoin website, all this cryptocurrency website. It has nothing to do with it. It says nothing to do with it. But actually, this is how it starts. Okay, and for that you have to understand what is money. Okay, we're talking about monetary system. So what is money? So let me just deep dive into this set of slides. Okay, the impetus of this slide, by the way, start I think in August 13. Okay, yeah, that was you can say this marked the timeline when I started looking at the Bitcoin and blockchain technology. So this was in August of 2013, and to be honest, a lot of this hasn't changed. Okay, the technology has evolved a bit, the capability, the carbon footprint, and all the implication has changed the picture. But to an extent, the fundamentals of what's happening in this slide hasn't really changed that much since 2013, to be honest with you. Okay, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but just so you know where you're grounded. Well, first of all, you have to understand. Okay, so this is very important because, again, Basai is not about jumping to the technology and see how you can make a quick buck out of it, or sort of like be quote unquote entrepreneur, but to actually understand the whole thing: the philosophy, the art, the science, the engineering. Okay, so first of all, have to think. Well, what exactly is money? Hold on, for some reason this is kind of blocking the slide. Okay, so what's money? Okay, what's Bitcoin? How is Bitcoin money? Who invented Bitcoin? Okay, how does Bitcoin work? And that's the under the hood thing, right? And how to make money off of Bitcoin. So that goes into the what can it deliver for you, and what's in the future, and so forth. Right. So that's a sort of like the whole narrative that I've built around this. Okay. Right. So first, oops, next page. What is money? Okay. How is Bitcoin money? So I'm going to spend 5 minutes on the moneyness of monies. Okay. What makes money money? Okay. And this is it's not as simple as you think. In fact, as you know, I come from central banking career before when I was very finished my Ph.D. In fact, the Bank of Thailand sponsored my Ph.D. Okay, so the idea of what fundamentally is money is not something that should be taken for granted. Okay, you think of money as just something in your pocket, but actually this is what money is. Okay, this picture. Okay, and this is one of the most important slides that you can take, and you're not going to find this very much outside monetary economics. So you can think of this as the foundation of monetary economics thrown in. Well, think of it this way. Okay, you have goods. Goods are things like, well, when I say goods, I mean goods and services. Okay, just to make it short. So something that you get some value from. Okay, so if you buy lunch, that's good because you can eat it. If you buy a car, that's good because you can use it, right? And if you travel, okay, and you stay at a hotel, you buy service, that's good. So all these things are good for you, basically. That's why it's called goods, okay? And there are things like capital. So these are things that you could, think of buying with money, okay? What can you do with money? What can you buy, okay? Money cannot buy love, money cannot buy happiness, but it can buy goods and services, okay? So this is when I say goods, I mean goods and services. And money can buy capital, that is investment, assets, stakes that in turn produces something for the economy, okay? So that's what money can buy, okay? That's what money can buy. Right. I think that's sort of like a, I guess an average educated person would be able to answer you that, okay? What can money buy? Money cannot buy love, money cannot buy happiness, it can buy goods and services, and it can buy investment, okay? Capital's investment, right? But actually, from a deeper perspective, you should think of money as facilitating the flow, okay? So it's a flow, it's an exchange. You're familiar with the notion that before we had money, we had a barter system, right? So a barter system is like I'm trading my 1 cow for your 5 chickens. Okay, think of it as 1 cow direct exchange with 5 chickens. So that doesn't involve money. Okay, does not involve money. So if I have 5, you can see the arrow here, right? So not มองเห็นลูกศรใช่ไหมครับ? So if I have 1 cow here, and you have 5 chickens here, the exchange of 1 cow and 5 chickens does not have to involve money. Okay. However, in a modern economy, this is where money comes in. It comes in nominally, right? It comes in as a unit because nobody has an exchange rate of cow versus chicken. All right, because you need to have, gazillion goods, and you have gazillion times gazillion minus 1 divided by 2 pair of price. So if I'm going to get, a cow versus chicken pricing, I'm going to have cow versus Coca-Cola, cow versus motorcycle pricing. So this is impossible in a modern economy, right? So instead of having many-to-many mapping, right? Cow, chicken, motorcycle, Coca-Cola, computer, iPhone to each other, many-to-many mapping, we have a many-to-one. So instead of n times n minus 1, okay? So in the barter system, so you write down barter system of n items require, okay, n times n minus 1 divided by 2, right? So it's kind of n squarish, right? Prices, quotation, price, quote. Okay, so to simplify this, you just convert with nominal money, okay? And the word is numeraire. Okay, that's a technical word. Okay, you just need n price quote. Okay, so effectively, that's a mathematical reduction of n squared to n. And you know about complexity, right? So you can handle 1 million, but 1 million times 1 million, that's very difficult to handle. Okay, so that's it. So even though I'm exchanging my cow for your chicken, nominally I'm exchanging my cow to the price of cow. You are exchanging the price of chicken multiplied by 5, and that's a fair trade. Okay, that's a fair trade. Okay, let's consider a fair trade. Now, of course, it may not be exactly, the cow may be worth 3.5 chicken, and so this is where you need to have real money, okay, because you can't get half a chicken, not live one anyway. Okay, so that's the numeraire function. Okay, so you think of money as the concept. Don't think of money as actual physical thing, and that's important because when you get to Bitcoin, you're not going to have physical money anymore, right? So the function of money is that it serves as a unit account. Basic numeraire you can think of it as a unit account. Just as you weigh things in pounds or measure height in meters, you measure the value in baht or dollar. Okay, just so that everything comes to a common denominator. Right. Now you can literally exchange chicken for money. Now this is actually involved real money now. So you have some kind of money. So that's a valuation link. Okay. So valuation link, the numeral link is a link between goods and goods. Okay. You can think of it as flow or exchange, right? Valuation is a link between money and goods because you can actually exchange money for goods. You can add in $5 for a chicken. Say a roasted chicken is $5. Okay. Whatever, right? Okay. Now, if I actually exchange my cow for dollar first, and then use my dollar to buy chicken, that's a different thing, right? Here I'm changing my cow with 5 chicken via nominal money, but no money exchanged its hand. Okay. This, I'm actually selling my cow first, get some money, walk over to the chicken farmer, hands over the money, and gets my chicken, right? So it's actually an exchange of good via money. So money becomes intermediary. It's not just a nominal unit. So that's why the arrow goes between goods and goods, but pass through medium of money. Okay, so that's a third function of money. Okay. By the way, in central bank speak, they talk about function of money. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here in central bank or in monetary economics, they would refer to it as a function of money, the 5 principal function of money. If you don't have one of these, you're not money. You can be medium of exchange, you can be some kind of storage of value, you're not money. Okay, to be money, you have to have 5 things capable of doing 5 things. Okay, so I'm exchanging cow for chicken, but I quote my value of cows in nominal terms of money. I'm exchanging my cow for money, keep it. I'm exchanging my cow for money. I take my money and walk over to the chicken farmer. I exchange my cow for chicken effectively at the end of the day, but through money. So that's the medium of exchange function, right? But what else can I do? Well, if I exchange my cow for money, but I don't like the chickens I see, I can keep it, right? And just invest in something else. Maybe I use that money to build whatever, a farm or whatever. I use it somehow, okay? So that becomes an investment function of money, okay? I use money to buy investment. In this case, I'm not getting anything that I can consume. Let's say I'm getting a barn. A barn is not consumed. I don't live in a barn. A barn is used because I want to keep my animals. I keep my animals because, you know, I'm raising cows and sell for chicken and so forth, right? So if I have a bigger barn, I can have more cows. I can get more money. I can buy more chickens or whatever. But ultimately, I am not enjoying the barn. I'm not enjoying the investment as goods. I'm enjoying investment for the goods that eventually it would allow me to purchase. Okay, so that's exchange of money for investment. Okay, now if you think about it, let's say I have chicken, right? I have a chicken, and well, I don't want to eat my chicken right now. Okay, I can store my chicken in the fridge, right? I can store my chicken in the fridge and it doesn't go bad, and I can eat it a week later. Okay, well, if you think of it this way, if I have surplus goods, right? It's good that I want to consume, right? It's something that I really want to consume, but I don't want to consume it now, okay? And it's not perishable in the sense that you put it in the fridge, but it's just sitting there, okay? Think of, well, think of, say you have an extra car, right? Say you have 2 cars. You don't need this car right now, so you can sell it for money. But you can actually keep that money and buy it back. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So in a way, the value of one car that you hold is the same thing as the value of the money that you sold the car for. So in a way, money kind of stores the value of that car. You can retrieve it later. Well, maybe not the exact same car, but you have that that option that you can take the money you got from selling the car. Later on, in 5 months' time, you now need a second car. You use that money to buy another car or the same car. So this is kind of like storage of value. So it's actually good with itself. You're not exchanging with anything. So fundamentally, this is actually, you know, it's very simple slide, but it's quite fundamental. And we'll go through the technology of Bitcoin and blockchain and which elements of it does this and this and this and this, right? And you see that the flaw of Bitcoin, or not the flaw of Bitcoin, or the flaw of how the society evolved with Bitcoin has to do with its intended function. Okay, I can give you a spoiler, right? A spoiler is actually Bitcoin was designed for all of this, but it became just number 5, and that kind of screw up function number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's, you know, it's supposed to perform 5 functions, but because the society somehow focused so much on function 5, it kind of screws up Bitcoin's function number 1, 2, 3, and 4 maybe. Okay. So this is kind of a story we have to talk about. So that's this loop here, right? Yeah. That's this bit here. How will society, you know, evolve with Bitcoin? Okay, and we'll talk about that. Good. So that's what money is. Okay, so that's, maybe that was a bit more than 5 minutes, but that's very fundamental. Okay, so don't think of Bitcoin as something to get rich quick. Think of Bitcoin first as conceptual. It's a money. Conceptually, it's a money, right? And so this is why I'm going to forget about this. So money is actually something that evolved with society. So when I say, you know, we have this new technology of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, how will society co-evolve with it? Well, you know what? Human society has always co-evolved with money. Really, the cultural history of mankind, and I guess historical account of what money does in a society kind of like goes together, right? So the first thing again is think of money as fungible commodities. Okay, so here we think about this is function. Okay, this is function, and this is how sort of like phenomenological history. In other words, what did money look like as a phenomenon throughout history? Okay, so in the early days, money actually was fungible commodities. What does it mean? Commodities mean something that's generic. Okay, something like wheat, right? You can't identify, you can't distinguish one barrel of wheat from another, provided it's of the same quality. Same thing with gold, right? If you have certain purity of gold, you are not supposed to be able to distinguish one bar of gold from the next. So it's very generic, okay? But it's fungible. It can be turned into value. Fungible means, and we'll go to non-fungible token later, but fungibility means exactly that. Ability to turn it into real value, something of value, okay? So money, okay? The first instance of money was actually something precious. Coins came later, but first came for something precious, like I don't know, seashells that's hard to find, that serve as money. Gold, certainly very hard to find, so that serves as money, okay? And now when you go to you can't carry gold around, so you get something a little bit more symbolic, and it's a medium of exchange you can take to the market, right? So imagine that I have again, I'm selling my cow for chicken, but the market for cow and the market for chicken are 3 miles apart. So I sell my cow for money, and I put it in my pocket so I can walk 3 miles. So I need something very handy. So it's a handy media, right? So that's where you get coinage. Coinage is sort of like bits of gold that you can carry. Not only is it bits of gold you can carry, it tells you, you know, on the face how much or how big it is. Okay, so imagine back then you didn't have like everybody didn't have a digital scale to measure, right? So the coin have some kind of authority stamp that say, well, this is actually 5 grams worth of it or something, whatever. Okay, so this is where you start to have things like coinage. This is how society evolved prehistoric time. Now, when you start to have, when you have sort of like something that's more capital intensive, right? The value of a cow, value of 5 chickens you can carry in your pocket as gold, maybe. Okay, you can carry a gold's worth of cow, right? Sorry, a cow's worth of gold in your pocket. But as you get into more leveraged society, more capitalized with more productive assets, you can't really carry a factory's worth of gold in your pocket. Okay, so it becomes more conceptual. You know, you put a gold in a bank and you get a piece of paper that say, I own this much gold, and I can, you know, sort of like spend part of it. Okay, so that's the concept of banknotes. These are basically IOU that you can take it to the bank. So instead of paying you with cow, paying you with gold, I pay you with a piece of paper that you can take to the bank and redeem the gold. So it's kind of promissory receipt. Okay, and that's how you start to have this thing called leverage. Because if you think about it, this thing can pass around, and unless everybody is taking this piece of paper and going to the bank to get the corresponding amount of gold, you can see how this thing can sort of like multiply. You know, money can beget money, and you actually have what's called multiplier effect. So a little bit of gold can multiply into a large amount of banknotes. Okay, and that's how the economy scales up. Okay, and now when you get to a more conceptual or more abstract notion of money, then you get this notion of economic numeraire. Okay, now this economic numeraire is very important. What it means is that you have to solve what's called double spending problem. In other words, it can be as abstract as you like. Okay, and in the digital form, it's the most abstract we have seen. But no matter what, you have to stick to one thing. You cannot double spend. In other words, if you spend this amount of money, it is spent. A paid B $500. That $500 is now B to spend. A cannot double spend it. Okay, so basically, you cannot create money. Colloquially or in the media, you hear things like money creation, but that's something else entirely different. That's monetary creation. That's by the central bank. It's the mechanism by which you literally create money. You see that with Bitcoin, you're actually creating money. But double spending is like creating money out of illegitimately. You know, you can't do that. It's basically cheating. You paid somebody and then you say, well, that's worth it. I'm going to pay somebody else. So no matter what, it can get abstract as you like, but it has to solve what is called double spending problem. Okay, and then the final stage before we get to Bitcoin is when you think of money as financial instrument. It's you can do a lot more with, right? What I mean by instrument is a tool. So instead of having a banknote that you can just buy goods, you can use this banknote as collateral. You can use this banknote as a way of assuring your partner that you're not going to walk away, right? So this is kind of like a additional function that money does. Okay, so think about it. If I'm going to open, I don't know if you know what this is, a letter of credit, right? A letter of credit is a little bit like a guarantee between that you need to do import-export business. Well, because import-export, you know, you have to ship things by boat or a large ship. You don't really sort of like have this. I give you the car, you give the money, you know, direct exchange. It's sort of like it's a contract. So I send you the cow, or I send you electronic goods over a cargo ship. In 5 weeks' time, it arrives in your port. In the meantime, you know, you have to send me some money. So it requires some kind of trust, right? So instead of having a blind trust because you don't know who you're trading with, you would trust in your local bank that there's a letter of credit. You say, this letter of credit guarantees that this, seller will actually deliver the goods, or this buyer will actually pay, or something like that. So mostly it's for deliverer, seller of goods. If I fail to send electronic goods over the shipment in 5 weeks' time, then whoever paid me the money can just take that money from the bank. So this becomes a tool for trade. The money is not used in and of itself. Money doesn't really exchange hand. Okay, it serves some function and all kind of stuff. And modern complicated economy is built on using money as financial instrument. Okay, and to give you a sort of like to give you a spoiler. Okay, this is how the story unfolded, because we were, again, as society, so hung up on Bitcoin as investment. Bitcoin, even Ethereum, rarely evolved into this stage. It doesn't become financial instrument at all. Okay, it's quite sad. I mean, it's Bitcoin and blockchain could be something a lot more powerful, but because we so much hung up on buying Bitcoin, Bitcoin trades, it never developed into financial instrument proper. Okay, maybe it will change in the future. Who knows? Okay, but so far we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot because we're so greedy with Bitcoin speculation. So nothing else beyond that. Nothing else beyond that. Right. Okay. All right. So I'm not gonna go. This is gonna take a little bit too long. But anyway, the idea is, well, if we already had money, okay, why do we have Bitcoin? Okay, why Bitcoin? And this is intricately tied with the origin story. Who invented Bitcoin? Okay, who invented Bitcoin? Okay, so you can say, well, you can say two groups invented Bitcoins. One is the Yappies. Okay, I'll talk to you about that. Yappies, well, I'll tell you where the Yappies live. And the other one is a guy by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Okay, so between those two, they invented Bitcoin. Now, let's talk about the Yappies first. Okay, this is where the Yappies live. Okay, this is where they live. Do you see the little island here? I think the island, they live somewhere here. Maybe, yeah, whatever. Okay, this is where they live, the Yappies. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. So that's really tiny area. Okay, that's little area. When I zoom out, it's here. Yeah, that's Philippines. So now you know where we are. Right. So those are the Yappies. What did the Yappies do? Okay, Yappies had a way of this is what's called money. This is their version of money. Okay. Now, notice that hey, it's a little bit. Remember, I told you that money should be handy, right? You can sell your cow for some beads, take some beads, and go to the chicken market and buy chicken. Well, this is actually the picture of the Yappies money. Obviously, it's the size of human being. So definitely you really definitely cannot carry this around. Okay, so that's not what that's not why I mentioned the Yappies, right? They didn't invent something handy to carry around. In other words, they didn't invent coinage. Yeah, they didn't invent coinage. But what they did was remarkable. Okay, this is another picture. So this is a modern, I think it's now a tourist spot now. What's important is this. Even though this is money, even though this represents money, so let's say this bit belongs to this guy, this bit belongs to that guy. Okay. They don't exchange the money. They don't exchange the money, obviously, because it's too heavy to exchange, right? But what they do is they remember how money is spent. It's like saying, instead of breaking this into little pieces, right, and give it to this person for 5 chickens, it would be something like this person gives 5 chickens, and then everybody remember that this person really owns part of this now. So part of this is no longer this guy, it belongs to that. So what happened is that instead of having physical evidence of who has money, they have a recollection, collective recollection. Everybody has this recollection of who has paid how much to whom. Okay, this is the opposite of how we think of money today. We think of money as once you spend it, right? It's in your pocket. You don't know where it comes from, right? You don't know its history. All you know is you have 500 baht in your pocket. That's the notion of money. It's the state view, if you will. Okay, state view is you open your wallet, how much money you have, that's how much you can enjoy yourself for today. Yeah, you have 500 baht, that's how much you have. That's the state of your wallet. But the Yapese money people, they didn't think of money as a state variable. They think of historical record. So instead of opening my pocket and see 500 baht, I open a scratchbook, a notebook, and my notebook says, I used to have 1,000, I paid 200 to this guy, I paid another 300 to that guy, I get 5 from this guy, I paid up that 5 to something. Right now I have 500. Okay, the 500 is the bottom line of this ledger. This is how the Yapese presumably thought of money. They don't think of, what you got, because what you got is actually just a summary of the history of transaction. And the community has a common communal recollection, memory of who has paid how much to whom. Okay, so again, it's not the state view, it's historical transactional view of money. Now, presumably they don't buy things all that often, otherwise, it's very hard to memorize. But that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Nobody opens a wallet and see how much money they have. They open a ledger and see the history of transaction. That's how much they have to transact some more. Okay, that's the Yapese people. Okay, so keep that in mind, because that's exactly what Bitcoin is. Okay. How does Bitcoin work? Okay, so this is, again, this is probably the most important slide, I guess, here. Okay, so if you have a money as a coin or money as something in your wallet, you can count your wealth. Your wealth is a summary of history of economic transaction. Once you get that summary, you don't care. In fact, most of you have no idea where you have that 500 baht in your pocket, because you don't keep a memory of where it came from. All you know is to open your wallet, have 500 baht. The concept has to go to ledger concept. In other words, in other words, money is just the tally or the bottom line of an account of history of transaction. So, and this seems like a very convoluted way of thinking how much you have 500 baht, right? Think about it. Instead of opening your wallet and you say, oh, I have 500 baht, you actually have to open the history of when the first time you became adult and you got some money from your parents, and you did this, you made thousands of transactions. At the end of all that, the bottom line is you have 500 baht. That's a very convoluted way of thinking about money, okay? And it's not efficient, okay, for human being to do, which is why, it can only be done at a small scale with the Yapese people. You can't do that with human beings, real human beings, okay? But with computer, you can, and that's what we come to. So now money becomes a history, a result of history that you can trace. right? So there's virtually no difference between you, right, opening your wallet and see 500 baht and use 500 baht to buy something worth 500 baht, and you, okay, assuring the seller that you used to have 1,000 baht, and through this transaction that you made, you ended up with something called 500, and the right to spend that 500, then you transfer to this person. So this becomes part of the store's history, and your history now nets to 0. The store's history now has plus 500 to it. So you're actually updating your record. Okay. So instead of thinking that you are handing over 500 baht in bills or in coin to the store, you actually update your account. It says minus 500, and then you go to you allow the store owner to update his account to plus 500. Exactly same transaction. Okay, so you're not exchanging money for goods. You are updating your history of transaction with your counterparty's history of transaction. Okay, and again, that sounds very inefficient. Okay, that sounds inefficient, but that's what's going to happen. Okay. So think of Bitcoin. Okay. Think of it from sort of like engineering point of view. So if I'm going to invent Bitcoin, and I'll talk to you why. Yeah, we haven't talked about why yet. Why Bitcoin? Okay, but to have a Bitcoin, right? It has to serve a function of money, and in a way, if you think of it from an engineering point of view, there are certain challenges you have to overcome. First, a Bitcoin is something that you have to be able to keep. So a vegetable cannot serve as money because it rots, right? You can also keep it from being stolen, so it's secure. So you can keep it, can't steal it, okay? You can't cheat, you can't double spend, right? And somehow it can grow at a predictable rate. I don't mean grow in terms of investment, I mean grow with the size of the economy. So these are kind of engineering problem. Somehow, if you're going to invent a Bitcoin, or if you're going to invent any kind of money, right? So let's say I'm sitting in the mind of Satoshi Nakamoto's mind. I'm going to invent money just for fun, right? It has to be something that can keep, something that you can't steal, or there's a mechanism, you know, to prevent theft or whatever. You can't double spend it. So when you update your account as minus 500, you can't just say, okay, I'm just going to erase that record. That's not good. And it can grow because the economy grows. You know, humans are born every day and they create new activities, and so somehow the money can grow. Okay. So these are all technical requirements in order to perform the 5 functions of money. And so behind these little blocks here are all the technology behind it. And this is basically what's under the hood. This is all mathematics and computing. Okay. So all this block, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, either comes from computer science or number theory, basically. Okay, math and computing provides all this. Math and computing provides all this. So this is the guy, Satoshi Nakamoto, right? He invented it by providing this technical solution. Okay. So these 4 are technical hurdles that any inventor of monetary system has to come up with, and these are the solutions that we came up with. Well, some of these are kind of obvious, but some of these are really ingenious. Okay. So the key innovation, again, these are all very innovative, but there are 2 key innovations. One is to solve the double spending problem. How to make sure that once you spend the money, you can't spend it again. Okay, and there are actually three sites I will refer to. There's a site that explains a little bit about blockchain, and I will go into that. Okay, there's an original paper by Satoshi Nakamoto back in, I think, 97 or something, 2000. And there is this paper, by the way. It's also this is not something that you hear about in Bitcoin, but this is very important paper. It's called "Money is Memory." Remember, right? Money is not the 500 baht you have, but it's the historic account of how you have been transacting. It's the historical of transaction by the Yap people. So money is literally memory. Okay? Which is very apt because computing is memory. Okay, so then now we have digital money, no question. So this is something that okay, back in 1997, very insightful paper. I would encourage you to actually use. You can double click on it. I'll give you the slide, and then you go to the paper. Anyway, he solved this problem. He solved the problem. So you can't double spend it. Okay, and the other one is called mining, Bitcoin mining. Okay, and that solved this. Money can predictably grow. Okay. What I mean is, you think of mining as a random process. Well, you mining gold, for example, is a random process, right? You find gold, you're done. But even though it's random, it is very predictable. In fact, based on if you work for a mining company, they can actually predict how much gold they'll get next week and the week after. Same with oil. Any kind of extractive based on your input, your effort, your labor, your drilling site, all this, you can do some kind of prediction. So it predictably grows. Not exactly, but it has a certain predictability. So it's random, but it's very predictable. Okay, it's like a child's growth. It's quite random actually, right? But you can pretty much predict, you know, if the person is this tall, this when he or she is 9, what will happen when he or she is 10? It's kind of easy. So it's random but predictable, and that's what Bitcoin mining does. That's his ingenious. Okay. So anyway, so he invented that, and so blah blah blah. How to make money off Bitcoin. I'm going to skip this because I'm actually going to go to that part. Let's see how it works under the hood. Okay. So how it works under the hood. Comment number 1. Yeah. So this is sort of like a very simple why barter is no longer used. Okay. Now, this is the important statement I want to say. Bitcoin starts life as a decentralized money system. What it means is this. When you go to this slide, this predictably grow. That's the key word. Right now, let's say US dollar grows in proportion to, say, well, I don't want to say US economy, it's actually it's world economy. So let's say Thai baht better. I think that's focused. Grows in proportion to Thai economy. Okay. That proportional is, yeah, that proportionality is not deterministic. That proportional is managed by the Bank of Thailand. Okay, so that's very important. Bank of Thailand is an honest, responsible institution. So does this with integrity. No problem. No problem. No problem. Huh? Let me write this again. XXX grows in proportion to YYY economy. That proportionality is managed by that. Okay? XXZ is corrupt, irresponsible money. So that's this sheet basically. Okay. In other words, whenever government of Y runs into debt, that just grows more money and give it to the government. Okay, this has happened. Okay, this has happened. You can say that this actually happened as recently as maybe 2000-ish by the United States. Okay, but we're not gonna go into that because actually it's involved a whole bunch more. Okay, but basically this is called printing money. It's called printing money. Okay, this is called printing money. So the reason this can happen is because the control of this proportionality is centralized by the central bank. Okay, so this is called centralized monetary system. Okay, has two examples. Centralized. So it's good. Why is it good? Well, it's only as good as the Bank of Thailand is good. Okay, the reason we don't have runaway inflation like in South America or in Germany after World War I. Okay, I don't know if you know what runaway inflation looks like. So let's go to runaway inflation. Looks a bit like this. Let's runaway inflation. Oh, come on. Germany. Yeah, it looks a bit like this. Okay, there you go. Okay, this is how people buy eggs or something like that. Okay, you have to get a basket full of rice mart or something. Okay, when money was worthless, women don't dress me up cash and blah blah blah. So anyway, so that's the picture. Okay, anyway, so that's it. Well, you think that it's just inconvenient. It's not only inconvenient, it made economy impossible because you can't, you know, if something is worth one bucket of money today and tomorrow is worth 2 buckets of money, nothing is stable. And in fact, you can say that this is the precursor. One of the things that basically was the genesis of World War II. Okay, we'll talk about how fascism took advantage of the social disruption later. But you know, you have social disruption, fascism, and in a way, it wasn't engineered by the German. It was sort of like due to the Treaty of Versailles. But that's European history. Okay, that's European history. So okay, so that's it. That's what we need to see. Okay, Right. So this is how much you buy to buy an egg. Okay. You actually burn it. So Thailand doesn't have that problem because we have good governance. Okay. But let's imagine after, let me go to the news article. Let's say the US accused of printing money. What year was that? Is the federal, no, after financial crisis of 2008, quantitative easing. Okay, so there it is. What is quantitative easing? Blah blah blah. Yeah, it happens a lot. Not just in 2020. I'm trying to get to the date. Anyway, it was after 2008. Let's say after 2008. Okay, 9 years ago. Okay, so 2009. Let's say. US. So this is a USD grows in proportion. USD grows in proportion to the, well, actually, it's hard to say. It's US, but it's also world economy. Okay, that's Fed. Fed is not corrupt. But post-crisis, post-2000 crisis, needs to put economy on steroid. Okay, so prints money. That's basically. So conducted what's called quantitative easing, i.e. prints money. Okay. Okay. So let's say this got, when was the paper? Keep forgetting. Trying to find which year it's in. Okay, so minus 13 is 2008. Okay, so let's say this is around 2008. So all this is happening around 2008. Okay. Got Satori. No, Satoshi, not Satori. Get his spelling right. Satoshi Nakamoto. Math. So he invented decentralized monetary system. AKA Bitcoin. That's it. That's what happened. Okay. So this paper was 2008, I think. Yeah, 2000. Okay. I have it right away in my paper archive. It's in here somewhere anyway. Okay. Right. So that's what happened. Okay. So that's what happened. Now, how does it work? Well, how does it work? He essentially engineer a computational protocol, a set of that A solves the double spending problem, and B, okay, predictably grows the money supply.
Excuse me.
Yep.
All I can see is I'm not sure what happened now, but I cannot see what you are typing now. Can you unshare and share the screen again?
Okay. Okay, there.
Okay, thank you. Now we can see it.
Yep. So that's what happened. How long have I gone blank? Not too long, I hope. Yeah. So you guys, you see this, right? From this monetary thing. Yes or no? Right. Okay. So if you saw this, you're okay. If not, then okay. So basically, just in case I went blank a little bit earlier, okay, the centralized monetary system, the amount, okay, supply of Thai baht grows in proportion to Thai economy. That proportionality is managed by the Bank of Thailand. Bank of Thailand is honest, responsible institution, so does this with integrity, and everything is okay. No run away inflation. Okay. No social disruption. Okay. Stable economic. Stable prosperity. Okay. Now, if money supply XXX is okay, supply of XXX grows in proportion to Y economy, that's controlled by Z, but that is corrupt, irresponsible, so cheats. Whenever the government of Y runs out of money, that is grows more money and give it to the government. This is called printing money. Okay, so let's say US grows in proportion to world economy, also US, but world. That proportionally is met by the Fed, US Federal Reserve. US Federal Reserve is not corrupt, but post-crisis needs to put economy on steroid. So conducted a quantitative. In other words, Federal Reserve printed money. Okay? So this got Satoshi Nakamoto mad. So he invented decentralized monetary system, aka Bitcoin. Essentially, he does this by engineering computational protocol that solves the double spending problem, ensures that money supply predictably grows. Okay, and this is where I refer you to the video of how Bitcoin works. And this is actually very, very interesting. Now, I don't want to explain how Bitcoin works just because it gets you to understand Bitcoin, but because the underlying technology, underlying technology, aka blockchain, not only made Bitcoin possible, it also became an emerging technology on its own, right? Okay, so you can think of Bitcoin possible as one emerging, i.e. cryptocurrency is equal to emerging technology, but you get double whammy. This thing, blockchain, is an emerging tech on its own right. Okay, it is also, and that's why, okay, that's why. Okay, so let's go to, let's pause the video and start the video again.